Shabbat Shalom again. All right, so tonight's topic is quite a lengthy one. Should be able to get through it in good time, though. Um, we'll be looking at Esau. Following up on last week's presentation, we looked at Judaism and the state of Israel, and we proved from scripture and from history that the persons who are residing in the state of Israel at the moment are not the nation of Israel, are not blood Hebrews or blood Yasharah. They are not Jacob's and Abraham's descendants. Tonight we are going to look at another side of the pond, someone who is indeed Abraham, Yitzchak, and Jacob's descendant, but not the chosen son. We're going to look at Esau, the brother of Jacob, or Jacob. So today's topic is Esau, the end of the world. Sounds very dramatic, eh? But that is the topic, and we're going to see why that is the topic for tonight. So hopefully last week's presentation with the history and the rabbit hole didn't bore you, because tonight will be no different. Ready, everyone? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yes.
All right, so let us go. Esau. All of us should be familiar. If you've ever read the Bible, you should be familiar with the story of Esau and Jacob. Not many persons are not familiar, even for persons who have not read the scriptures. I am going to take you firstly to two passages from our Bible, from our Sefer, 4 Ezra 6 and Malachi 1. Two prophets. Remember, Ezra was a scribe. He wrote Nehemiah, Ezra, two Esdras, or one Esdras and two Esdras, which are known as 3 Ezra and 4 Ezra. Nehemiah is actually known as 2 Ezra. Ezra is a scribe who is responsible for the Bible that we have today. He rewrote everything, and you get that account in the book of 4 Ezra. So we're going to look at Esau being condemned. A lot of persons don't necessarily take keenly to things that were said about Esau in the Bible. And we're going to look at them. 4 Ezra 6, verse 7. Then answered I and said, so this is Ezra asking the angel. For those who are familiar with this book, Ezra got the opportunity to question Yahuwah through the angel, ask a lot of questions and had them answered. Questions like, why did you not prevent Adam from sinning? Why did you not stop mankind from sinning? And all of these things, and he got an answer. So if you're interested, you can go and read that book, 4 Ezra. That's also the same book that gives us an account of what happens after someone dies, what happens to the soul or the spirit. Anyways, so Ezra asked the question, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? And the disciples asked Yahusha something similar, if you can recall. Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that follows? So what is he talking about? End of the first and the beginning of it that follows. Anyways, he said unto me, from Abraham unto Yitzchak, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand first held the heel of Esau, and we know the story. Jacob held on to Esau's heel, and apparently he was trying to prevent him from coming out before him. Maybe he wanted to be the firstborn. So the angel is giving a recounting of that story, because Ezra just asked, what is the parting asunder of the times? What is the end of the first world and the beginning of the world to follow? Or the age, or the era, whatever you want to call it, dispensation, whatever you want to call it. That is what Ezra is asking. When will this life be done with, and the new life with all of the excitement that we can't die and all of these things begin? The angel said, from when Esau and Jacob were born, Jacob held on to the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world. That would be the heel, because the heel is the end of the body. and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. And this is a huge prophecy, and the Catholic Church removed it, and I will show you why by the end of the presentation. They removed it. So the angel told Ezra, Esau is the end of the world, Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. That's a huge prophecy. Anyways, Malachi 1, verse 2 to 4. I have loved you, said Yahuwah, but you asked, in what you have loved us? In what way have you loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, declares Yahuwah, and I love Jacob, but I hated Esau. Very strong word. A lot of persons don't like that word. And have laid waste his mountain and his inheritance. So I destroyed his mountain and his inheritance for the jackals of the wilderness. If Edom is Esau, if Edom says we have been beaten down, let us return and build the ruins. Yahuwah of hosts, Yahuwah of armies said, let them build, so they build, I will tear down, and they shall be called border of wrongness, and the people against whom Yahuwah is enraged forever. So Yahuwah not like them people here. Does not like them, there's a reason. So let us go back in history now. The birth of Esau. A lot of us are familiar with the story, Genesis 25. Yitzhak prayed to Yahuwah for his wife because she was barren. Yahuwah answered his prayer, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. So the name is Ribkah, where the translators say Rebekah. And within her the child struggled together. And she said, if all is right, why am I this way? So she went to ask Yahuwah. This is Genesis' account. She said, if the pregnancy is fine, why am I feeling so much pain? So you don't see it there, but that is basically what she's asking. We're going to give you another account, so don't worry yourself. Verse 23, Yahuwah said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples shall be separated from your body. 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. This is a prophecy from before them even born. This is Yahuwah himself giving this information. The first one, he came out red all over like a hairy garment, and so they called his name Esau. And afterward his brother came out with his hand holding onto Esau's heel. So his name was called Jacob. And Yitzhak was 60 years old when she bore them. So bear in mind, Esau was hairy, Jacob was a smooth-skinned man. If you don't believe, you keep reading the story. When they claim that Jacob stole the blessing, Jacob had to take goat skin and put on his skin so that the goat hair, when his father felt the skin, his father would feel the hair and say, yes, this is indeed Esau. I would pronounce the blessing because the father was going blind. So Esau was a very, very hairy man, hair all over his body. Joshua 26, another account of their birth. In about 7 months after the children struggled within her, and it pained her greatly that she was wearied on account of them. So she felt as if she was going to have a miscarriage. She said to all the women, so she visited all the other mothers, because this is her first time having children. So she went to her friends. She said, listen, when you were pregnant, did you feel these pains that I am feeling, these pains that I am feeling? Did such a thing happen to you as it has to me? And they said unto her, no. And she said unto them, why am I alone in this among all the women that were upon earth? She said, no other woman upon earth never feel them pain yet. What wrong with me? So she went to the land of Moriah to seek Yahuwah on account of this, and went to Shem and Eber his son to make inquiries of them on this matter, and that they should seek Yahuwah in this thing respecting her. And they all inquired of Yahuwah concerning this matter, and they brought her word from Yahuwah and told her. So they went to Yahuwah, Yahuwah gave them the message, them come back. They said to her, 2 children are in your womb, 2 nations shall rise from them. 1 nation shall be stronger than the other, the greater shall serve the younger, just as we see it in Genesis. There's a book called The Legends of the Jews, Volume 1. So it basically contains stories that were passed on, oral stories that were passed on. Just like in Jamaica, you know, we have the Anansi story, Black man, White man, Chinaman, and Coolie man, all of those stories passed on the line. This book contained those stories that you would tell to your children as a Hebrew. It reads, I took a page from the book. what the cause of her dire suffering was. And Shem replied, My daughter, I confide a secret to thee. See to it that none finds it out. Two nations are in your womb, and how should your body contain them, seeing that the whole world will not be large enough for them to exist in it together peaceably? So according to Shem, as long as you have descendants of Jacob and Esau, there will never be peace in the world, because they cannot dwell together. Two nations they are, each owning a world of its own. The one, the Torah, the other, sin. Because if you're not in Torah, you're in sin. From one will spring Solomon, the builder of the temple. From the other will spring Vespasian, the destroyer thereof. These two are what are needed to raise the number of nations to 70. All right, so you're going to write in your book, Solomon, builder of temple, Vespasian, destroyer thereof. You should know by now which came from which. You should know who Solomon came from, and we're going to find out if Vespasian came from the other person. So I'll give you some time to write. So Solomon was the builder of the temple, Vespasian, the destroyer of the temple. And this is the prophecy given by Shem to Rebekah about her two sons, Esau and Jacob. All right. So who is Esau? Is that a hand I see up?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Can I go back to the previous slide? I don't know if you're going to talk about this, but in case you will not, then you may think about it another time. It is not in your thing, but the last sentence, that is, these two are what are needed to raise the number of nations to 70.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have, were you going to expound on that?
No, I have nothing on it, but it piqued my interest today when I saw it.
Okay, because it seemed to be telling you.
Yeah.
So maybe you can look at that another time.
Yeah, we need to look in the Torah to see if it says anything about 70 nations.
Because there is a thing about 70 nations that I've been hearing for many years, that there are 70 nations. I think maybe in the scripture too, I think. But we can look at it to see, because that would tell us that from these two persons, you see, like all the nations of the world come from these two persons. It seems. Sounds.
Yeah. So we're going to have to look at it. I've never heard of it before, 70 nations. So I guess we can discuss that tomorrow when I see you and look at it further. All right, so who is Esau? Because you know, these men, these patriarchs, they become a nation and the nation gets a name. So for example, Jacob, his name was changed to Yasharal, and so the nation of people that came from him became known as Yasharal or Israel. So Esau, we're trying to find out what the name of his nation became. Genesis 25:30. Esau said to Jacob, Please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary. That is why his name was called Edom. So who is Esau? Edom. You find that also in Genesis 32:3. Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, in the land of Seir, the field of Edom. And Genesis 36:1 and 8. This is the genealogy of Esau, who is Edom. So Esau dwelt in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. And that's coming directly from scripture. It's not me write it there. It says Esau is Edom. So Esau is Edom. Very important information. All right, so we're going backtrack. Before Esau and Jacob now. Make sure you get these information. Make sure you're paying attention. Joshua 10 verse 7. These are the sons of Japheth. How we reach to Japheth. Don't worry yourself. Remember, Esau and Jacob would have come from Shem. Because now I have three sons, Shem, Ham, Japheth. Esau and Jacob came from Isaac. Isaac came from Abraham. Abraham came from Shem. So why is Japheth a part of the conversation? Don't worry yourself. Just write the pertinent information. These are the sons of Japheth, according to their families. Gimer, Magog, Madai, Yavan. So you're going to write Japheth, dash, or an arrow, and write Yavan. You don't need anything else. Japheth, Yavan. And in beside Yavan, you're going to put in bracket Greeks, because Yavan became the nation of the Greeks. Not Greece that we have on the map today, but the Greeks. So just put Greeks in bracket. Joshua 7 verse 6, and this is why they removed the book of Joshua. Joshua give you this information nicely, tell you which nation, which person became which nation, all of these things. Joshua 7:6, the sons of Yavan were Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. So beside the Greeks that you have in bracket, you're going to draw another arrow and write Kittim. So you should have Japheth, arrow, Yavan, Greeks in bracket, arrow, Kittim. 1 Chronicles 1 verse 7, the sons of Yavan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, Rodanim. So I'm just giving you way they call it now, a biblical account, because remember Joshua didn't find its way into their Bible. So I'm just showing you that Chronicles said the same thing that Joshua says. Joshua 10 now, because we need to identify who is Kittim. The children of Kittim are the Romaim. So put Romaim in bracket beside Kittim, and you can put slash, all right, or Romans. So the children of the Kittim are the Romans who dwell in the valley of Canopia by the river Tiber. Very important. Don't worry yourself. Everything is going to make sense soon. Just follow me carefully. So again, Japheth got Yavan. You put Greeks in bracket. Yavan got Kittim, and you put Romaim / Romans in bracket. So the Greeks and the Romans, they come from Japheth. So now we're going down the rabbit hole. So we establish all the pertinent information that we need. No, we never reach into the hole yet. We just go down in it now. So ready? Everybody still here? Still hearing? Ready for the rabbit hole? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yes, still hearing.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Flashlight. Get my flashlight out.
So let us now connect the dots, because remember, we're looking at Esau. Esau is from Shem, so how Kittim, Rome, and Greece get involved in the argument. Jubilees 37. I'm going to show you tonight why they removed these books. Jubilees 37 verse 8, that's where we start. And they said unto him, this too is exactly your mode of action from your youth until this day. And you are putting your neck under his yoke, and we shall not listen to these words. What is happening here? Let me give you the backstory. Esau and his brother Jacob have made peace after years of animosity, where Esau felt as if Jacob supplanted him in relation to his birthright and his blessing. Them town man now, they have made amends and they went their separate ways. Esau's sons decide that no, you can't let it go like this. You have to go and take your inheritance from your brother because he stole it. And so they are now admonishing their father, telling him, because the father said, no, I cannot go and fight him because I made a covenant to my father before he died that we are going to let bygones be bygones. And now them accuse them father, them say, I saw you turn from your pitney. You put on your head for him step on it. You put on your neck for him step in your neck. And we are not going to listen to you. Verse 9. And they sent to Aram and to Adoram, to the friend of their father, and they hired along with them 1,000 fighting men, chosen men of war. And there came to them from Moab and from the children of Ammon those who were hired. 1,000 chosen men. Remember Moab and Ammon? If you don't remember, write it in your book. Moab and Ammon are the children that Lot got from his daughters. Moab and Ammon are the children that Lot got from his daughters. So that means that they are Israel's cousin. So what you have here is Edom, Israel's brother, Moab and Ammon, Israel's cousin, gathering to fight against Israel. And you have to understand these things. So when you're reading in the prophets, Ezekiel, in the Psalms, in the Isaiahs and in Jeremiah, where Yahuwah, a burnout, as Jamaican would say, Yahuwah is prophesying destruction upon Moab, Ammon, and Edom. You understand because you are privy to this information now. And they went to men from the Philistine, 1,000 chosen men of war, and from Edom and from the Horites, 1,000 chosen men, fighting men, and from Kittim, mighty men of war. Who did I say Kittim was? Huh?
Son of
The Romans.
Romans, very good. Kittim is the Romans. Japhet's son. Japhet grandson, or we want to call it, or great grandson, but it come from Japhet line. Esau went, made an alliance with the Romans to come and fight against his brother. Because Esau's sons are representative of Esau. So even if Esau wasn't with it, are still him descendants them. So it's Esau, Edom. Right, just following up. And they said unto their father, go forth with them and lead them, or else we will kill you. So them said, lead this army against your brother Jacob, or else we will kill you. And he was filled with wrath. All of a sudden, he remembered the wrath and the indignation. And seeing that his sons were forcing him to go before them to lead them against Jacob, his brother. Anyways, and they went up and fight. You can follow the story and go read further. They went and fought, and that is how Esau died. Anyways, so we're seeing, according to Jubilees, that Edom, which is Esau, went and gathered an army to go and fight against his brother. That army include Moab and Ammon, which are cousins of Israel because they are Lot's children, and Lot was Abraham's nephew. So they're a cousin, far cousin, but cousin nonetheless. And among them were also Kittim, who we now know are the Romans. All right. Genesis 36. Watch this now. These were the names of Esau's sons. Esau have a son named Eliphaz. Eliphaz is the one we are interested in. Then Eliphaz got a son by the name of Sepho. Sepho is the one we're interested in. Get all a son, but we're only focusing on the ones that we're interested in. So you can write Esau, arrow, Eliphaz, arrow, Sepho. So Esau, then Eliphaz, then Sepho. Why is Sepho important? Joshua 61. The children of Kittim. Watch this now. The children of where? Kittim. Who did we say Kittim is again?
Romans.
Romans. Good. So the children of the Romans saw the valor of Sepho. So they saw that Sepho was a valiant fighter. And the children of the Romans resolved, and they made Sepho king over them. Who is Sepho again? Esau's son. Good.
Esau granny.
They made
Right.
Sepho king over them. And he became king over them. And while he reigned, they went to subdue the children of Tubal and all the surrounding islands. And their king Sepho went at their head, and they made war with Tubal and the islands, and they subdued them. And when they returned from the battle, they renewed his government for him. And they built for him a very large palace for his royal habitation and seat. And they made a large throne for him. And Sepho reigned over the whole land of the Romans and over the land of Italy, 50 years. So Esau, descendant, went and became king over Italy, over Rome, over Japhet, descendant. So what you call that now? You call that intermingling, don't?
Yeah.
All right. Joshua 19. At that time, in the 50th year after the children of Yisrael had passed over the Jordan, After the children of Yisrael had rested from their war with the Canaanites, at that time great and severe battles arose between Edom and the children of Kittim, because they are living together now, because they had a king from Edom. So he might go carry some Edomites go there. Good alliance farm. But down the line, problem go on now between the two of them. That is Edom, who is the son of Jacob, which is Israel, and Kittim, who is the son of Japheth. All right. And the children of Kittim fought against Edom, so them start fight against them one another. So the Romans fought against the Edomites. And the children of the Romans ruled over the Edomites, and Edom became under the hand of the children of Kittim and became one kingdom from that day. You don't know them different. One people them know. Edom and Rome, one people. And me said the book. From that time, they could no longer lift up their heads, and their kingdom became one with the children of Rome, or the Romans. First Maccabees 1 verse 1. It happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian. Anybody know of this person? Alexander from Macedonia? Let me see who know history.
Alexander the Great.
Alexander the Great. Very good. Considered to be one of the greatest emperors ever to walk the face of this earth. And one of these days, we're going to do a comprehensive study on this individual, not because of history, but because of his place in prophecy. And I'm going to show you from Bible that this man's story is a remarkable story. Anyways, we're not going there now. Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of the Romans, had smitten Darius, the king of the Persians and the Medes, that he reigned in his stead. The first over Yavan. Who is Yavan? Look back in your book. Who is Yavan?
Greek.
Greek. Very good. Yavan is the Greeks. So Macedonia, Alexander, who come from Macedonia, Alexander the Great, he came from Rome, and he was the first to rule over the Greeks, because the Greeks and the Romans very similar. And that's why when you're studying history, you often hear about the Greco-Roman era, because it was a nice little transition between the kingdom, the empire of Greece and Rome. Basically the same people, same language, basically the same people. Watch this now. We know this scripture very well, Zechariah 2. And flee from the land of the north, declares Yahuwah, for I have scattered you like the four winds of the heavens, declares Yah. O Zion, escape, you who dwell with the daughter of Babylon. So Zion is dwelling with the daughter of Babylon. For thus said Yahuwah of hosts, for the sake of esteem, he sent me to the nations which plunder you. For he who touches you touches the apple of my eye. We need to look at this thing about daughter of Babylon, because remember, Babylon in Revelation is seen as the great whore. And whole heap of fornication committed the whore. And if the whore is having sex, then the whore is going to be impregnated and it's going to give birth to children. So we're going to have to look at this daughter of Babylon thing one of these days. Anyway, Psalm 137. Remember, O Yah, against the sons of Edom. So remember, O Yah, against the sons of Edom, the day of Jerusalem. Edom who said, lay it bare. Edom said, mash it up to its foundation, mash it up. O daughter of Babylon, who are to be destroyed. Blessed is he who repays your deed, what you did to us. Blessed is he who shall take and dash your little ones against the rock. So the psalmist here is asking for vengeance from Yahuwah upon Edom and the daughter of Babylon, because they were party in the destruction of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is where the temple is. And we saw in the legends of the Jews that one of Rebecca's sons will be the builder of the temple, and one will be the destroyer of it. So we're going to look at Esau's role in all of this now. We've now established that Esau went, or his descendants went and joined forces with Kittim Yavan, which is the same because Kittim comes from Yavan. Kittim is Yavan's son. Esau went and joined forces with them and basically became one. So Esau's role. Isaiah 34. We'll look at Esau's role in Israel's demise throughout history. Isaiah 34. Come near, you nations, to hear, and listen, you people. Let the earth hear, and all that is in it, the world and all its offspring. For the displeasure of Yahuwah is against all the nations, and his wrath against all their divisions. He shall put them under the ban. He shall give them over to the slaughter, to the killing. For my sword shall be drenched in the heavens. Look, it comes down on Edom, and on the people of my curse for judgment. The sword of Yahuwah shall be filled with blood. It shall be made overflowing with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For Yahuwah has a slaughtering in Bozrah, and a great slaughter in the land of Edom. So in other words, Yahuwah said, when my sword drop on Edom, what blood? For it is the day of the vengeance of Yah, and the day of the vengeance of Yah is also the year of recompense for the cause of Zion. What did I tell you on Sabbath is recompense? Reparations. So just like how you hear black people asking for reparations from the slave masters, or the descendants of the slave masters, this is basically what Yahweh is saying. Yahweh is saying that Edom is party to the destruction, the exile, the captivity of Israel. And as such, whenever the vengeance is met or meted out on Edom, that will also be the equivalent for the reparations for Zion. What does Zion need for reparation? What do we need?
In our land,
We need the land. Very good. If you need the land for reparation, and Yahweh is saying that I am going to give you reparation, the same day when you get reparation is the same day when vengeance will be meted out on Edom, then who does it mean is in the land?
Stranger, imposter.
Edom is in the land. Edom is in the land, and whoever him join alliance with, because we're going to see throughout history that Edom keeps joining forces with the enemies of Israel to go against Israel. So Edom and him friend them in the land. And so Yahweh is going to give vengeance, mete out vengeance on them. And in doing so, the land will go back to its rightful owner. Says two birds with one stone. Jeremiah 49, verse 7. Concerning Edom, thus said Yahuwah of hosts. And when you read every prophet, you're going to find Edom in it. There's a reason. And that's why I show you at the beginning that we have very potent prophecies showing that Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of the one to come. Thus said Yahuwah of hosts, is there no more wisdom in Teman? That's a place in Esau, or one of his sons. Has counsel been lost to those with understanding? Has their wisdom vanished? Flee, turn back, dwell in the depths, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I shall bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I shall punish him. But as for me, I shall make Esau naked, bare. I shall uncover his hiding places so that he is unable to conceal himself. His seed is going to be ravaged, his brothers and his neighbors, and he is going to be no more. For I have sworn by myself, declares Yahuwah, that Bozrah is to become a ruin, that's a place in Edom's territory, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all its cities become everlasting waste. And Edom shall be a ruin. Everyone who passes by it is astonished and whistles at it, all its plagues. As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, in the same way I destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, that is the same way I'm going to destroy Edom. Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahuwah, which he has counseled concerning Edom, and the purposes he has purposed concerning the inhabitants of Teman. The least of the flock shall drag them away. He shall make their pastures a waste before them. The earth shall be shaken at the noise of their fall. There is an outcry. Its noise is heard at the sea of reeds. See, like an eagle he flies up and spreads his wings over Bozrah. And the heart of the mighty men of Edom in that day shall be like the heart of a woman in her pain. The important information you take from verse 22 is the eagle. What nation on earth equates itself to an eagle?
America.
America. Very good. Ezekiel 35. Son of man, set your face against Mount Seir. What is Mount Seir? Everybody should remember this from the very first assignment.
Esau's territory.
Esau's territory. Very good. That is where Esau got to dwell. Mount Seir. Just like Zion is synonymous with Israel, Mount Seir is synonymous with Esau. If you never know, write it down. So, son of man, set your face against Edom, Yahweh said, Mount Seir, and prophesy against it. You shall say to it, thus said the Master Yahuwah, see, O Mount Seir, O Edom, I am against you, and shall stretch out my hand against you, and shall make you a ruin and a waste. Why does Yahuwah hate Edom so much? Because you have had a continuous enmity and handed the children of Yisrael, the children of Yisrael over to the power of the sword at the time of their calamity, at the time of the crookedness of the end. So when I tell you that Edom, or the Arabs as we know them today, some of them are known as Arabs. When I tell you that they were instrumental in the slave trade, transatlantic slave trade, I'm speaking history and I'm also speaking prophecy and Bible. So Yahuwah said here, because you have a continuous enmity and you handed the children of Yisrael over to their captors. Therefore, as I live, declares the Master Yah, I shall appoint for you blood, and let blood pursue you, since you did not hate blood. Therefore, blood shall pursue you. I shall make you an everlasting ruin, and your cities uninhabited, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah. Because you have said, why? This is what Esau said, Edom said. These two nations, being Jerusalem and Judah and Israel, and these two lands, Israel and Judah, are mine. That is what Edom said, are mine, and we shall possess them, although Yahuwah was there. So Yahuwah said, you don't have no manners. You take my land and claim it. You capture the land. And you shall know that I am Yahuwah. I have heard all your scorns which you have spoken against the mountains of Yasharal, saying, they are laid waste, they were given to us for food. So the Arabs were chasing us in Africa, catching us and taking us to the Europeans to be sold or to be brought across on ships. We continue. And with your mouth, verse 13, you have boasted against me and increased your words against me. I myself have heard, Yahuwah said. Yahweh is now saying, as you rejoice because the inheritance of the house of Yasharal was laid waste, so I do to you. Be a ruin, O Edom, O Mount Seir, as well as all of Edom, all of it, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah. So Yahweh is saying in chapter 35 of Ezekiel, in the same way you rejoiced when the inheritance of the house of Yasharal was laid waste, that is Jerusalem Yahweh is speaking about. It's the same way I am going to destroy your territory. And when you skip your Bible page and go to the next chapter, Yahuwah continues. Thus said the Master Yah, because the enemy has said of you, and remember this enemy now includes Edom, because him just tell you that is Edom, take the land and say they are mine. Look what the enemy said. Aha, the heights of old have become our possession. Therefore prophesy, and you shall say, thus said the Master Yah, because they have laid you waste and swallowed you up on every side, so that you become the possession of the rest of the nations, and you are taken up by the lips of talkers. So the holy land, the precious land, the promised land, is not inhabited by the promised people. Therefore, thus said the Master Yahuwah, have I not spoken in my burning jealousy against the rest of the nations and against all Edom, who gave my land to themselves as a possession with all joy of heart, with scorn in their being to drive it out for a prey? Is that not what I showed you last week with the Balfour Declaration and the creation of the state of Israel? Joel 3:19. Egypt shall become a ruin, Edom a ruin, a wilderness, because of the violence done to the people of Judah, whose innocent blood they shed in their land. So this is the issue that Yahweh have with Edom. We keep seeing it. Edom is at every single point in Israel's demise, Edom is there. And if you don't believe me, we remember the story of King David. You see, when David was on the run from Saul,
With Saul.
very good. When David was on the run from Saul, there was a particular individual who was very instrumental in Saul catching up to David and wanting to kill David. All those times when Saul catch up to David, that individual goes by the name of Doeg. And Doeg is an Edomite. And I'm going to give you more examples as well. So it's been a part of our history. I remember that David is a very, very instrumental piece in Yahusha coming. Extremely instrumental piece. So if you get out David, you get out the Messiah. Amos 1. Thus said Yahuwah, for 3 transgressions of Gaza, and for 4 I do not turn it back. Why? Because they took into exile an entire exile, that is Israel. Gaza, that's a part of Esau's territory, to surrender it to Edom. So them capture we and carry to Edom. Esau, our brother. Thus said Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Tyre and for 4 I do not turn it back. Why? Because they surrendered an entire exile to Edom and did not remember the brotherly covenant. You don't treat your brother like that. Thus said Yahweh in verse 11 again, for 3 transgressions of Edom and for 4 I do not turn it back. It can't turn back. Why? Because he pursued his brother with the sword and cast off all compassion, and his displeasure tore incessantly, and he kept his wrath forever. So Esau run we down with the sword, catch we, who him not kill, him carry go back, go get to the slave master. 3rd Ezra, chapter 4, 45 and 50. You also vowed to build up the temple which the Edomites burned when Yehuda was made desolate by the Chaldeans, by Babylon. When Babylonians invaded Jerusalem, the Edomites, according to Ezra, the scribe, the historian Ezra, the Edomites burned the temple. The Edomites come in with the Babylonians and burn the temple. That is the first exile, Babylonian exile. The Edomites were there. And this is not what you saw in the original, the first slide that I showed, when the legend of the Jews said Vespasian come and destroy the temple, because Vespasian come long time down with the Romans. So I'm just showing that every point of our destruction in our history as a people, Edom was there. Esau was there. And that all the country which they hold should be free without tribute, and that the Edomites should give over the villages of the Yahudim, the Jews, which then they held. So Edom has been very instrumental in our demise at every single part of our history. Obadiah, the 1 chapter prophet who prophesied against Edom. The vision of Obadiah, this is what the Master Yahuwah said concerning Edom. We have heard a report from Yahuwah, and a messenger has been sent among the nations, saying, arise, let us rise up against her for battle. See, I have made you small among the nations. You are greatly despised. How Esau shall be searched out, his hidden treasures shall be sought out. In that day, Yahweh declares, I shall destroy the wise men from Edom and discernment from the mountains of Esau. Why? Because of your violence against your brother. Remember, this one tell us that his displeasure tore incessantly, and he kept his wrath forever. He never let it go. Because of your violence against your brother Jacob, let shame cover you, and you shall be cut off forever. In the day that you stood on the other side, watch this way Yahweh was saying, in the day you stood on the other side, in the day that the strangers took captive his wealth, when he was invaded and the strangers came and took his wealth, his possessions, when foreigners entered his gates and cast lots for Jerusalem, you also were like one of them. Anytime Israel get raided, Esau is there. And you should not have looked on your brother's day in the day of his nakedness, nor rejoiced over the children of Yehuda in the day of their destruction, nor made your mouth great in the day of distress. Nor should you have entered the gate of my people in the day of their calamity, nor should you have looked down on their evil in the day of their calamity, nor should you have seized their wealth in the day of their calamity, nor should you have stood at the parting of the way to cut off his fugitives. So the one them will escape, Esau turn up in the way and cut off the people them and carry them back. So not even escape, you could have escaped in peace because of Esau. Nor should you have handed over his survivors in the day of distress. For the day of Yahweh is near upon all the nations, and as you have done, Mr. Esau, so it shall be done to you. Your reward shall come back on your own head. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, the house of Joseph a flame, but the house of Esau shall be for stubble. You know what is stubble? Stubble is what you throw in the fire to keep the fire going. So Yahweh is saying that Jacob and Joseph, Israel is Joseph, Jacob is, I think he's mentioned in Yehuda there. So Judah and Israel shall be the fire, and you shall be the stubble, the bramble that keeps the fire going. And they shall burn among them, and they shall consume them, so that no survivor is left of the house of Esau. For Yahuwah has said it. Now I'm going to prove to you that Esau is Rome. If you never pick it up all this time, we will prove that now. Revelation 12. A great sign was seen in the heaven, a woman clad with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head was a crown of 12 stars. She was pregnant. She cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And another sign was seen in the heaven, a great fiery red dragon having 7 heads, 10 horns, 7 crowns on his heads, and his tail draws a third of the stars of the heaven and throws them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she bore a male child who was to shepherd all nations. And we know that this male child is known as Yahusha. The Christians incorrectly or erroneously call Jesus Christ. Does anybody remember when Yahusha was born, who wanted to kill him? When the wise man saw the star and they came to visit, and a particular ruler heard.
Herod.
King Herod.
King Herod.
Herod was the king of where?
Rome.
Rome. Good. All right. Watch this. There's a place called Idumea. Watch this. The country inhabited by the descendants of Edom. So you know over time, the names change. So when you read in the Bible, you see Edom. When you're looking through history, you might see Idumea. Once you see Idumea, Edom, Esau, same thing. You have to know how to study. You have to know the correct threads to pull. The word Idumea is the Grecized form of the Hebrew name Edom. Grecized means the Greek form. Because remember that thing got mixed up with the Greek people them. Which appears to have been applied to the region from the red color of its sandstone cliffs. Idumea was situated south of Judah and the Dead Sea, but its limits bordering on the wilderness are difficult to determine. When at the death of Alexander, 69, Aristobulus endeavored to wrest the crown from his brother Hyrcanus II. So, father died, 2 brothers fighting for the throne. Antipater now, who was the governor of Idumea, took the latter's side. So he took, what's his name? Hyrcanus' side in the conflict. And upon the arrival of the Romans, he attached himself closely to them. Remember now, Antipater is the governor of Idumea, which is Edom. The Romans come now, and Antipater and Hyrcanus attach themselves to the Romans. Again, Edom got attached to the Romans. The assistance he lent to their army in several expeditions and the services he rendered to Julius Caesar were rewarded in 47 by the much coveted title of Roman citizen and the appointment to the procuratorship of Judea, Samaria, and Galilee. Watch this now. His son was Herod the Great. Antipater, the governor of Idumea, son was Herod the Great. Antipater was Idumean, which is Edomite. So that means that Herod the Great was an
Edomite.
Edomite.
Edomite. So an Edomite again wanted to kill Yahusha when he was born, and Yahusha is a Israelite or Israel, Yasharel. We continue to look at this Idumea thing. Around 110 BCE, Hasmonean leader John Hyrcanus I conquered Idumea according to several ancient sources, including Josephus and Ptolemy. He forcibly converted them to Judaism. So Hyrcanus forcibly now converting people to Judaism. You can remember them at the knockoff, you know. They take on this religion thing and them call it Judaism, claiming to be the correct Jews. And so they're now forcing people to convert to it and incorporated them into the Jewish nation. So this not have nothing to do with genealogy, biology. Is just we are call people Jews now for the sake of calling them Jews. Hyrcanus also captured the Idumean cities of Adora and Marisa, and after subduing all the Idumeans, which are Edomites, he permitted them to remain in their country as long as they had themselves circumcised and were willing to observe the laws of the Jews. And so, out of attachment to the land of their fathers, they submitted to circumcision and to make their manner of life to conform in all other respects to that of the Jews. And from that time onward, they have continued to be Jews. So them are real Jews. This is history now. Antipater now, the Idumean, the Edomite, the progenitor of the Herodian dynasty, so he's the father of the Herod dynasty, along with the Judean progenitors that ruled Judea after the Roman conquest, was of Idumean origin, so he was an Edomite. Under Herod the Great, the Idumean province was ruled for him by a series of governors, among whom were his brothers Joseph ben Antipater and his brother-in-law Costobarus. Overall, Herodian influence on Judea, Jerusalem, and the temple was significant. However, this was obfuscated by later variants of Second Temple Judaism and Rabbinic Judaism. For example, a minority of contemporary Jews argued Herod cannot be Jewish because of his genealogical origins. So some of the rabbi them say, Herod can't be Jew because a Edomite. These beliefs were promoted by his work, by works such as Jubilees and 4QMMT, that's a scroll that was found in the Qumran cave, the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were of Essene, Hasidian, and Sadducee origin. These Jews did not openly express their views because Herod violently suppressed critics. So in other words, the people them have to talk in them room, under them mattress, go under them bed, and say they want Herod him a Jew, you know? And then can't make nobody talk, just like we know with Sweet Pepper Nose. We can't call him name on YouTube. Are the same thing. Watch this now. This book is called The Rise of Christendom. Page 210, it says, the chronicle gives an account of the successors of Alexander. Ptolemy Lagos, it is said, placed at Alia, a chief from among the children of Israel, that he might practice the religion of the law. Ptolemy, Decianus, succeeded, and the commentaries say that he ruled the people of the cavern. At the end of 240 years, the empire of the Greeks passed to the Romans, to a man who descended from Esau, namely Augustus. And he reigned 56 years, and in the 42nd year of his kingdom, his reign, his rulership, Isa, son of Mariam, was born. Between Isa and Alexander, there was a space of 319 years. So I'm just showing you throughout history, the mixing between Edom and Rome. Because remember, I'm proving to you that Esau is Rome today. This is another book, Modern Judaism, or a brief account of the opinions, traditions, and ceremonies of the Jews in modern times, written by John Allen. First, the writer says that the descendants of Esau, the sworn enemies of the descendants of Jacob, even to the end of the world, were at first a small nation, inhabiting Mount Seir and the adjacent country, contiguous to the land of Canaan. that they were easily confined within their own limits as long as the Israelites enjoyed a great and formidable empire in Canaan. But that, after the powerful republic of the 12 tribes were destroyed by the Assyrians and Babylonians, they wonderfully increased the Edomites in numbers and strength, extended their dominion toward the west, spread their colonies far and wide, subjugated Italy, founded Rome, and the Roman Empire at length entirely overturned the Jewish state which had been restored after the termination of the Babylonian captivity, the second temple being destroyed by Titus Vespasian, the destroyer from Edom of the temple, and Solomon, the builder from Israel of the temple. And that in the present day, professing the religion of Jesus of Nazareth, which they were the first of all nations to embrace. So them make Christianity. Because remember, this book is called Modern Judaism, or a brief account. So Rome built Christianity. They created the religion of Jesus of Nazareth. Him never existed before. Which they were the first of all nations to embrace. They hold the dominion over all Europe. Over all where Esau hold the dominion according to this author? Europe, Russia, everybody. Esau detaining in captivity his brother Jacob, at least as far as regards the tribe of Judah, till his Messiah, the son of David, shall appear, which is what we see in the prophecies. Secondly, that the prophecies of the prophets against Esau, Edom, Seir, and the cities of Edom, especially those of Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Obadiah, have not yet received their full accomplishment. For that though the house of Esau has experienced some particular judgments of Elohim, on account of the injuries at different periods of time inflicted upon his brother Jacob or Israel, yet the final vengeance on account of that last and greatest injury, the destruction of the second temple by Titus, and the transportation of the Jews into captivity in which they are still most opprobriously detained, is yet impending over it, to be executed in the time of the Messiah. So in other words, the man is saying that Israel is still in captivity, still being held by Esau, and so what the prophecies prophesy against Esau have not yet fully come to pass. That this is foretold by the prophets in all their denunciations of the severest plagues against the house of Esau, the cities of Edom, and against the house of Esau, the cities of Edom and Mount Seir, which all belong to Rome, and the Christians, and that the fate of Christians at that time will be far more dreadful than that of Mahometans. Abarbanel particularly says, the slaughter of the Turks in the future battle will not be so great as that of the Christians, for many of the Turks will escape, according to Isaiah, but of the Christians, Obadiah says, there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau. If Esau is Rome, then Esau is Christianity, because Christianity has its origins in Rome. All right. I'll give you another source, the complete works of Flavius Josephus. And this is a well-respected and treasured historian. Some people hold this man even greater than Paul himself. This account, Josephus says, of the Idumeans admitting circumcision and the entire Jewish law from this time or from the days of Hyrcanus is confirmed by their entire history afterward. This, in the opinion of Josephus, made them proselytes of justice or entire Jews, as here and elsewhere. However, Antigonus, the enemy of Herod, though Herod were derived from such a proselyte of justice for several generations, will allow him to be no more than a half Jew. But still, take out of Dan Prideaux at the year 129 the words of Amoius, a grammarian, which fully confirm this account of the Idumeans in Josephus. The Jews, says he, are such by nature and from the beginning, whilst the Idumeans were not Jews from the beginning, but Phoenicians and Syrians, but being afterwards subdued by Jews and compelled to be circumcised and to unite into one nation and be subject to the same laws, they were called Jews. So originally they are not Jews. They just take on the title of Jews. And we know the Revelation 2:9 and 3:9. Woe be unto those who say that they are Jews and are not. They are a synagogue of Satan, assembly of Satan. And we know that Satan is the beast in Revelation. And we know it go already. The whore ride the beast, I believe, is the Roman Catholic and the Pope and the people. Anyways, I think we can skip this one because it's basically saying the same thing from the same book. This one is from a book called The Dictionary of the Bible, comprising its antiquities, biography, geography, and natural history, written by William Smith. This person says, because this is a dictionary, yeah, go to the dictionary, you look for Idumeans. You want to know who are the Idumeans. The Idumeans, by which, as I have shown, all the Christians are to be understood, for they took their origin from Rome, will go up to lay waste to Jerusalem, which is the seat of holiness, and where the tomb of their God Jesus is, as indeed they have several times gone up already. I have several times shown that from Esau proceeded the kings who reigned in Italy, and who built up Rome to be great among the nations and chief among the provinces. And in this way, Italy and Greece and all the western provinces became filled with Idumeans. Thus it is that the prophets call the whole of that nation by the name of Edom. That's why in 4 Ezra, the angel told Ezra that Edom is going to be the end of the world. Now the beast and the woman in a Revelation bring forth the coming of the Messiah. Now so Revelation pencil up. Yes or no? Or you don't know? Is it not the beast and the woman in Revelation that bring forth the coming of the Messiah and start the fighting and the excitement where Yahusha have to return
Yeah.
and set things in order?
Yeah.
So everything coming full circle. So we go back to this book now, The Legend of the Jews. My daughter, Shem said, I confide a secret to thee. See to it that none finds it out. 2 nations are in your womb. How should your body contain them? A 2 countries in your belly. That's why you feel so much pain. Seeing that the whole world will not be large enough for them to exist in it together peaceably. So in other words, in order for us to have peace, one got to go. And that's why 4 Ezra said, one is the destruction of the world that we now live in, and the other is going to be the restoration or the coming in or the beginning of the new world. Because the 2 of them can't live together. So one got to go for us to have peace. 2 nations there, each owning a world of its own. One own one world, the other own one world. From one comes the Torah, from one comes sin. From one will spring Solomon, who is the builder of the temple. We know that is Israel. And from the other will spring Vespasian, the destroyer thereof. We now know through history and through the study that that is Esau. Those 2 are what are needed to raise the number of nations to 70. They will never be in the same estate. Esau will vaunt lords, while Jacob will bring forth prophets. And if Esau has princes, Jacob will have kings. They, Israel and Rome, are the 2 nations destined to be hated by all the world. One will exceed the other in strength. First, Esau will subjugate the whole world, but in the end, Jacob will rule over all. The older of the 2 will serve the younger, provided that this one is pure of heart. So as it is now, Israel is not pure of heart, and so the older is ruling the younger. But whenever Israel becomes pure of heart, the younger will rule the older. Otherwise, the younger will be enslaved by the older. And this is an ancient book, brethren. Ancient book. I had to pay to get these things, because a picture people take out the pages and have it uploaded. And then I have to go now and screenshot the page. And we are familiar with this document, the Balfour Declaration. We would have looked at it last week. So the Balfour Declaration came from England, which is Europe, Esau, addressed to Lord Rothschild, leader of the Zionist movement. Rothschild come from Germany, Europe, Esau, Ashkenazi, Japhet people them. Same people where Esau go mix with. And the Rothschild, we looked at them last week. wealthy family, own all the central banks in Europe. And guess what? The Rothschild family financed the construction of the Suez Canal, which is the canal that separates Israel from Egypt, which is why a lot of persons don't believe that Israel is actually in Africa. That was done by the Rothschild family, German Jewish banker. Remember, we read that they took on the title of Jews and they run the world. These people run the world. Now, I show you a series of pictures for you to get a picture of how the world works and see where Esau is. I'm going to show you a series of pictures of American presidents and who they are affiliated with. These men are Jews. The Jews, the synagogue of Satan that Revelation 2 verse 9 and Revelation 3 verse 9 tells us about. This president, I believe, is Ronald Reagan. I'm not very familiar with the American president's faces, so if I'm incorrect, I stand corrected, but I believe that this one is Ronald Reagan. What he's holding in his hand is a menorah. This is what is placed in the temple in Jerusalem, and only a priest from the tribe of Levite is permitted to light this instrument. In order for this president to hold it, this thing here is brought to him by the Jews, the so-called Jews. And if you look at the menorah that these individuals have, it doesn't have 7 branches. It carries 9 branches. They are very smart, you know. They don't want to piss off Yahweh too early. And so they kind of create a counterfeit and then don't make it too similar to the original. Their menorah carries 9 branches and not 7. The original carries 7. So you realize the American presidents, all of them, when they're in office, they have to be brought this thing here and light it. I don't know what it symbolizes, but I would imagine that it symbolizes that they answer to these people, because they truly do. The Rockefeller family, the Rothschild, all of them family, the Jewish families, and these presidents of England, America, the Queen, all of these people, they answer to these families. I remember that Esau is also Rome, which contains the Pope and the Jesuit Illuminati. This is another president. I think it's the same one. You see the Jews again, so-called Jews, the synagogue of Satan, and the 9-stick menorah. This is President Bush. You see the Jews with the cap. All these men are Jews. It's like a ritual. These are the men who run the world. This is President Bush again with the Jews. This is President Bush with the Jews. And you have Wolipa Bush, because I think Bush and his father were president. This is Bush again with the menorah. Notice on this side you have 4, you have the middle one, and then you have another 4 on this side, so it's 9. So they are very careful because they don't want to piss off the creator too much. So they're extremely careful with what they're doing. And the Jews are there. This is Obama. Now, unfortunately for this man, because if he is indeed black, as they say, then he would be Yisrael. He wasn't afforded the privilege of lighting that menorah because him are the real thing. And according to them, they are the real thing, and so he would be fake according to them. But he nonetheless had to meet with them. You see him there with them. When time comes for it to be lit, a white man is lighting it, and he has to stand in the background with his wife. And the second term of his presidency, he had to hold up a white girl, and she lit it for him. This is Donald Trump with the Jews. And we end with Psalm 83. O Elohim, do not remain silent. Do not be speechless. Do not be still, O El. For look, your enemies make an uproar, and those hating you have lifted up their head. They craftily plot against your people and conspire against your treasured ones. Every single nation on earth has conspired against Israel. And when Yahusha return to redeem us, they will gather to fight against him to stop the redemption. They have said in verse 4, come and let us wipe them out as a nation. Let the name of Yisrael be remembered no more. For they have conspired together with one heart. They have made a covenant against you, the Christians, the Jews, the Muslims, all of them have made a covenant. See it here? Edom, Ishmael. Edom is Jacob's brother. Ishmael is Isaac's brother. Moab is Lot's son. The Hagarites, it's Agar's descendants, you know. Agar is Abraham's wife. Gebal, that's Esau again. Ammon, that's Lot's son. Amalek, that's Esau. Philistia with the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur, which is another one of Shem's son, also joined with them, and they have helped the children of Lot. Selah. That, my brothers and sisters, is the end of the presentation. Esau, ruler of this world today, is the end of this treacherous world. And Jacob, our forefather, Israel, will be the beginning of the peaceful world to come. I thank you. Questions, comments, concerns, loud outbursts.
I have a question with regards to Obama, because he is black, right? But would he be considered a traitor of Yisrael because he led a nation that is against us? Yes, he is black, but he was the ruler, quote unquote, ruler of the Americans, the US, and they claim that he was one of the best presidents. However, he still did a lot of crazy stuff behind closed doors, and a lot of it has been revealed and is still being revealed. But would he even still be considered an Israelite, being a past president of such a nation?
To the best of my knowledge, based on his actions, he would have, as you said, betrayed his nation, his rightful people, whether knowingly or unknowingly. I believe he knows, because you can't get to that level without this kind of knowledge. You don't get to that level without this kind of knowledge, because the demonic forces that are ruling you, they will make you privy to what is happening. Also, in his term, I don't believe he did anything for black people. He passed a couple bills for the LGBTQ community. He did a lot for the Latinos. No policy was implemented for black people during his 2 terms. So, as I said, he's a traitor. He did nothing for us. So. I don't hold any love for him, but it's up to the creator whether or not he's seen as such, because we don't know if he did it knowingly or unknowingly. But politically speaking, I agree with you. He did nothing for us. It was just a pawn someone placed there to appease us, so black people can have something shiny to say, well, we had a black man in the White House. Nothing more. Anything further? Anybody, any questions, comments?
I noted with a great level of seriousness the vendetta that Yahweh has against Edom.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel sorry for them. Because I would not want. And it comes out in the prophets.
Yeah.
And until we understand, we will not grasp the level of hatred.
Yeah.
You know, we are told in the CGI elsewhere, they're saying that the word hate there doesn't mean hate, it means love less.
Mm-hmm.
So Jacob I love, but Esau I love a little less than Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
But when you fully understand and grasp, it's hatred. It's vendetta, like a personal vendetta. And we can understand it. Some people will not even comprehend it. You know, how can Yahuwah be so have such hatred against it? And the prophet told us, you know, what they did to his brother Jacob. And it says to us that, as family, then we need to be careful of how we treat each other. Right?
Yeah.
But all in all, the vendetta that Yahweh has against Edom is just, I'm sorry for them.
I would
I'm
start
sorry.
with Cain as well.
Yeah, and even though they were not sorry for us or people when they were doing us,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brotherly love, man. Brotherly love. We can't overemphasize its significance, especially in relation to the Creator. Brothers should live in love because a serious punishment is out for any brother who does not love his brother and take care of his brother. We saw the same with Cain. Cain is subjected to everlasting, eternal condemnation because of killing Abel. So we know that Yahweh does not take kindly to hatred against your brother. Miss Francis, you have something to say?
Yeah, good night. A question to ask. So Esau or Edom, you're making a point is the Romans. Is that
Yeah.
so? So the persons who are in the land now, are they Esau worthy?
Yes.
They are the same.
Yeah, man, but they mix with Japheth's descendants as well.
And okay, and a point you made also was that Christianity came out of Rome.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, well, in recent times, I've heard about the Noahide laws, right? And I've heard that it is going to be against Christians because one of the rules or whatever you call it has to do with you should not something about idolatry, right? So and they say the persons in the land say that Christians are idolaters because they worship Jesus, right? So they worship more than one God and they don't worship the true God. So it has been said that the Noahide laws would be against them. So I'm kind of wondering, how it all ties in. If it's, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly, but because I know you would know about the Noahide laws, right?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay. Well, you can't speak to it then. But
Yeah, but we
there
don't
when you were
need that to know
looking,
that I.
yeah,
Right?
when you were looking at the presidents, I know they say that from 1993 or thereabout, there was this, what they call him? I can't remember his name, but there was this Jewish leader, one of the Jewish leader who they were thinking was the Messiah or whatever. I can't remember his name. And he died anyways. But every president, they sign this Noahide law because they're saying in the future, the world is going to be governed by the Noahide law because you know that the Jews, they don't believe that Gentiles and other nations should keep the laws. They just believe it's for them, right? And so they are saying that it's okay for the other nations to keep this Noahide law because it's a universal thing from Noah. That's why it's called Noahide law. This 7 law, you should not so and so and so, whatever. Of course, the Sabbath is not in it because I think that's theirs and all of that. But my thing is that idolaters would be killed. And mainly they say, well, Christians, they are idolaters because they worship Jesus. You can, I guess you could look at it and then, talk about it sometime.
Yeah, but
Let's go at
based
that.
based on what you would have said about that it's just another teaching from mankind, just like the Christians with Jesus coming to abolish the law. I think that's another ply by them to say, to obscure the truth that we are the true people of the land, and them wanting to keep the law to themselves and all of that. You can't include the Sabbath in your thing because you say that the Noahide laws was before Israel, and so you give them a certain set of laws because the Sabbath was before Noah. The Sabbath was from creation. So if you're going to use that premise, then the Sabbath should be in the Noahide laws.
Well, exactly so, but they hold on to it, say, no non-Jew should keep the Sabbath, but it's okay for us. So we can't keep the full law, but it's okay for us, I mean Gentiles and all of that, to keep these 7 laws, but not the others, including the Sabbath, which is theirs. And if you break the law and stuff, because I mean their thing is that one of these days they are going to rule the world, right? And so if anybody is found breaking the Noahide law, one of the penalty could be death, especially if you commit idolatry. So but I don't know.
Yeah. So
It's,
as I
But
said,
it's just that the Christians really don't keep it, the law, the law of the Torah. So
yeah, I know they don't, but that's what I'm saying. This Noahide law, right? That will show that, well, you're a good person, right? And anybody, why they are saying it would be against Christians is that the Christians are idolaters because they worship Jesus. So and I was thinking, well, Romans and Rome, and they brought in Christianity. Oh, this, and they're, if this is so, they are going to be destroying Christians because they're idolaters. That's what I was thinking,
yeah, but let me tell you, but the Christians will teach that in order to show that to show that they are the true the people of Yahuwah. But so they will say that. But if Edom we're gonna run the world, it means that whatever they are going to institute will have to be done by everybody and not just Christians. But as you know, Christians and the Adventists will teach certain things that it will happen to them as a claim that they are the chosen. So that you can consider.
yeah, and all of these teachings they fly because people don't read for themselves. You can't have a teaching like this when the law itself, the same law that you're saying that these people can't keep, the law itself says, when a stranger sojourns among you, then if a stranger is within your gate on the Sabbath, that person must keep the Sabbath from them within your gate. So the law is very clear. So you can't just jump and say, the outsiders can't keep the law and the law is only for us. And when the law says, when a stranger come among you, they are living among you, they must keep every same law. One law for the native, one law for the stranger who come and visit. So these, as I said, these teachings fly because people don't read for themselves. They have no basis in the Bible.
Exactly. Because clearly, the law that they are teaching about, they are breaking the law. If you read the Bible, they are breaking the law, so I don't know.
Yes, it's just doctrines of men, as Yahusha said. Yeah, Azi, you wanted to say something, sir? Before we stop the recording.
Yes. I was want to ask that based on the information about Esau and they will become stubborn and all of these things, I'm wondering if any of the descendants of Esau, if they cleave onto, let's say, Yisrael or Jacob's and do the laws as how it requires, if we think that Yahweh will have pity on them and see if they could come in the land at that time. If they turn, any of the descendants of Esau, because it seems to me like it said all of them will be that, but I'm just wondering.
All right. So, in my personal opinion, if I live in Neverland and born and grew in Neverland, I'm a Neverlandian, and somewhere land is going to war against Neverland, and somewhere land is going to bomb up Neverland and make Neverland and all the Neverlandians never exist and mash up and destroy, never to be rebuilt. And I decided, listen, I am going to get a passport. I'm going to fly to somewhere land, and I'm going to behave myself over somewhere land. I'm going to ask Somaliland to accept me as them citizen. I'm going to keep Somaliland's laws, and I'm going to learn the laws. I'm going to get a work over there, and I'm going to believe what they believe. I'm going to teach what they teach and practice what they practice and speak the language that they speak. And Somaliland decide that they are going to take me as their citizen. And when I go there now and go through the naturalization process, they ask me, say, do you renounce your Neverlandianness? And I say, yes, I renounce Neverlandianness, and I'm taking up Somalilandianness. When them are send them bomb, where am I? I'm in Somewhereland. I am no more known as Neverlandian. I am now Somewherelandian. I say that to say, in my opinion, a man come over to this side, Yahweh says, one law for the stranger, one law for the native. And Yahweh said, once the man is doing it, then he must be considered as a native born in the land. So when you're considered as a native born, what are you called? Yasharal. Hebrew. You take on the practices, you renounce, because when you come into Yahuwah from another nation, you have to renounce the gods and renounce the practices of that other nation, because the thing with Yahuwah is that Yahuwah don't stay like America, where you can tell people that you are Jamaican, you are Jamaican and American at once, or you are Chinese American. Yahuwah no play that game, that there's no dual citizenship. You have to renounce all connection and all allegiance to your previous place of residence and place of birth, and take on full naturalization of my country, which is Yashara. That is how we see it work in the Torah. So I'm of the opinion that if you do that, then you will be on Yashara's side. So when destruction falls on Edom, you will not be considered an Edomite because you renounce that.
Okay.
That's my opinion, though. So.
Yeah, man. Good one. All right.
Anybody else? Or we can go ahead and stop the recording. All right, so I think that's it for tonight. Hopefully something was learned, reinforced, some eyes were open, or some interest was piqued, or your mind was pricked, and you will go and do further research or have further questions to ask, and we'll ask them in private. I trust the study was fruitful. Until then, shalom.